want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more, tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
The Nigeria Electricity Consumers Advocacy Network (NECAN) has criticized the federal government's service-based electricity tariff policy, saying the changes have failed to reduce subsidy payments and have instead worsened inefficiencies in the power sector. Speaking on the policy, NECAN National Secretary Uke Tubunga said the introduction of the Band A tariff regime, which the government had described as a way to reduce subsidies, has had the opposite effect. He accused the distribution companies or DISCOs of continuing to collect tariffs despite inconsistent power supply, and noted that the original purpose of the service-based tariff system has collapsed, pointing to fundamental flaws in Nigeria's electricity demand structure. Meanwhile,
Africa is on the move, a continent of rising voices, untold stories, and powerful transformations. From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Nairobi, from the mines of Congo to the tech labs of Cape Town, the African story is being written every day. Bold, dynamic, unstoppable. This is African News on Voice of the People Television. We don't just bring you the news. We analyze and bring you Africa's heartbeat, the politics that shapes our nations, the economies that drives our future, the cultures that defines who we are, the voice that must be heard. Africa News, Africa's voice, Africa's future. Where Africa speaks, the world listens.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV, now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
The policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing.
And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world, because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
I'm Mr. Familoni, and here's to VOP TV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
Arara, my name is Made Kuti, and you're watching VOP TV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter.
Well, thank you very much for joining us again. This is Newspaper Review. I am Moses Humphrey.
And I am Chukuma Okoro. Thanks for joining us again.
And I'm Jane Ogoye. Thank you for sticking with us.
Now, let's dive straight into it. We have joining us virtually Dr. Brighton Kuka and Honorable Jonathan Ashake. These gentlemen will also join the conversation. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for staying with us. Now, let's go straight into the papers. And I would like for us to start off with where we left it off earlier, talking about Rivers State. The crisis in Rivers State. Now, these are the headlines, or this is the headline here on the cover page of the Guardian newspaper. We see this headline: legal huddles, Assembly silence deepen Rivers impeachment uncertainty. And then the riders to that story can be found on page 6. I remain governor despite impeachment move. Fubara insists. Legal group asks CJ to step aside from impeachment process. Ijo group urges APC to protect governor from impeachment. Wike absent as Tinubu returns to Abuja from Abu Dhabi trip. Nigerians have a way of reading meanings to things. So he wasn't there to receive the president, and Nigerians are already alluding. Oh well. That's one of the stories right there. Like I said, I would like for us to pick up from where we left it off. I would like to start with you, Chukuma Okoro. What are your thoughts on this one?
Rivers State.
Yes. We had a conversation last Friday on Rivers State. Anyway, I wouldn't want us to go into that conversation. But now they're asking for truce. And pointing to the riders here, what do you make of the current happening?
Well, the situation in Rivers State is dicey. The truth, if I were Fubara, I will not just lose guard. You know why? It could be a decoy, you know, to, let's say, okay, now we are calling for a truce, you know, let's make peace and all of that. But underneath, underground, those...
You think he will make the mistake he made before because he agreed to a certain peace deal?
That is not the first time. That's not the first time he's making that mistake.
Okay.
That's probably the second time, you know. Oh. And I on top of my head, there's something they say, okay, well, my by the way said, you know, a local parlance, they say, first fool no be foolish, and second fool be proper foolish. If you make mistake the first time, you know, and you repeat the same mistake, then it tells what you are. What is going on in Rivers State is Fubara is still talking tough, but I don't see him he doesn't come across to me as a strategic fighter. You know, he's too vociferous, he's too flippant. Just like, a lot of people thought that he wasn't talking much, but now he's doing a lot of talking.
He's
in fact,
lots of
talking more, even more than Wike himself. Wike is more strategic, you know. When you ask Wike, you made an agreement. Wike will ask you, which agreement? Were you there? Should I tell you the agreement? You know? But Fubara has made, little openings. He has opened a few windows into the agreement that they made. And it looks like, the thing is not in his favor now. But I keep asking this question. At that point that he made those agreements, he knew outrightly that he was not going to abide by them.
Do you think he knew he wasn't going to abide by them? Or when he saw how intricate those agreements were, he decided
this is former Accountant General of the state. Very well educated, by my estimation. So he should have known the letters of an agreement, that it would be difficult for him to implement those agreements. He entered into those agreements with eyes wide open, if you ask me. That is it. So it's going to be a very tough call. When these people say they have an injunction from an Obi-Kwa High Court, I don't know the final points of the law, but I do know that there is what they call the ouster clause when it comes to impeachment. From start to finish, when an impeachment process starts, until it comes to an end, the courts have no say in what goes on. It's a legislative process, devoid of interference or intervention from the courts. It is substantive. So the lawyers of the 27 lawmakers are going to, apply that. Now, that said, a lot of people, I was just thinking through this Rivers imbroglio, and I am of the fact that, look, a lot of people believe that the president is going to settle for the governor.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. You know why I don't think so?
Why? Tell me.
Why I don't think so is that the president and Nyesom Wike have come a long way. 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, and now. Now, when people make a fool of the fact that, the president cannot afford to lose Rivers State. Rivers State is so strategic and all of. I went back to 2023, and I looked up the records. How much votes did Rivers State give to the president? 251,000 votes. So, why should the president bother about Rivers State? If you talk about the southwestern states, the old states, including Lagos, in fact, the 6 states of the southwest, the state that gave the least to the president is Ekiti State. What did Ekiti State give? Ekiti State gave 231, 20,000 short of what Rivers gave. The president should be more concerned with states like Kano State that had about 1 million votes plus. Not Rivers State. Oyo gave 444,000. In fact, Oshun, Ondo, and the other old states in the southwest, none of them gave anything less than 330,000 votes. And if you take that 251,000 votes that Rivers gave to the president, if you add it to Atiku Abubakar, he still wouldn't win the election. If you add it to P2B, he still wouldn't have won the election.
Ondo and Ogun States, right?
Yes, Ogun State. So apparently, the president doesn't care. He shouldn't care about Rivers, as a matter of fact, in terms of votes. I did all of that calculation. I said, why the whole force about, the president cannot. Rivers is not a swing state. When you talk about swing states, you talk about Lagos. You talk about Kano State. That is where the action is. So the president is not going to throw Wike under the bus for what he has done for him, at least in decimating a strong opposition like the PDP. He's going to reward him. He won't take him out. So he will just be like, well, if you people think that this young boy, if you think he can afford to sacrifice Rivers State and ask Wike to bring somebody that will even bring the money again to prosecute any election, probably 2027 or even 2031. So that's my thinking about Rivers State.
Okay. Those are your thoughts there. Now, a lot of Nigerians are sentimental about this. A lot of Nigerians would want to see one party. Well, I think Nigerians are divided. Some would say, okay, because this person has been talking tough, we'd like to see him fall. Another would say, this one has shown that he cannot keep to agreements, so we'd like to see him lose out at the end of the day.
Yes, I know people that are thinking like that.
Different strokes for different folks. Oh, well.
Moses, a lot of Nigerians are very emotional, very sentimental.
Yes.
When they analyze and talk about issues like this. Nobody is talking about, the real issues in Port Harcourt. The real issues in Rivers State. What people say, is Wike and Fubara. It's about the politics of Rivers State. See, this main character, there is no state that you don't have characters. That is how politics is controlled. Even if you go to the United States of America, there is nothing you talk about politics now that you don't talk about Donald Trump. So it's about being realistic. People analyze out of idealism. Oh, this is what should be. They don't talk about what should be. What is on ground now is whether we like it or not, whether people like it or not, Wike is the political leader of Rivers State. At some point he is. It might fizzle, that popularity or that capital might wane over time, but presently he is. And nobody can wish it away. So the best thing that Fubara can do to remain in office is to go back to Koto. Not to Koto, go back to him. Oga, let's make peace. It's big man politics, it's an African thing. Unfortunately, that's what it is.
All right. I don't know if Honorable Jonathan would want to add anything to this. I know you already reacted to this during VOP This Morning show. We do want to add any other thing to this as it comes up from the dailies, the papers. And I also understand that we're being joined by Dr. Bright and Obi-Kwa now. Well, Honorable Jonathan, go ahead.
My reaction, is the same.
Okay.
Didn't you see the headlines in the papers? Oh, the Tinubu come back. That is why there's a call for a truce. Oh, Fubara lawmakers are, on a standstill because of this. Just calling individuals' names. But what actually is the constitutional offense that can call for an impeachment of a public officer?
Of the 2026 budget appropriation bill. He has not been able to present one for 2026.
He has not been able to present one. What causes it? Is it his own fault? Now, when you look at it, the whole thing revolves around individuals, around personalities, not around the people, not around his capacity to govern. And that is why I keep saying, as long as we go on this trajectory, as long as we are not ready to reform, we'll continue to have this as a recurring decimal over and over, whether it is in the 8th Republic or in the 4th or in the 9th or in the 10th or in the 15th. We will continue to have this. And Africa must come to this realization that when we allowed a system to be so, impaired upon by our refusal to stick to rules and regulations, then we will always get this kind of thing. Let me just remind you, even in Lagos State, some times ago, one man stopped a governor from going for a second term, not because of his performance. I'm talking about Ambode and the present president, Bola Tinubu.
Okay.
Is it not Bola Tinubu that stopped Ambode from going second term? Was it the wish of the people? So if Wike is working to stop Fubara because he feels he brought him on board, it's not the people, then that is how I'm complaining that the system is not working. INEC must reform. My colleague there in the studio is saying that Fubara must go back to Wike and maybe talk to Wike and maybe kowtow or whatever. But let's look at it. Let's look at it very critically. If it has to take people obeying individuals, not the people, then we will have a long way to go. We have a long way to go, and we have not started.
Like my colleague did say, let's move away from what should be and look at what is. I mean, that's the angle from which he made his own assertion. You're speaking to what should be ordinarily. There should be institutions in place to ensure that votes count. That is what should be. But what is the fact that we had godfatherism holding sway.
We cannot run away from this conversation that votes must count. When you talk about, say that you can forget about Rivers State votes, they give only 250,000 votes. We have to talk about Kano because they give 1 million votes. I disagree with that.
Okay.
Why? Because votes are not counting in this country. Who told you that Kano State can produce votes more than Kaduna State? Who told you that Lagos State can produce votes more than River State? If votes count, I'm telling you, any official that stands for election, one vote matter. But when somebody, I remember in Kaduna State, when the former governor El-Rufai just woke up one morning on the left side and said he doesn't care about Southern Kaduna because he doesn't want Southern Kaduna votes. And Southern Kaduna votes, we are well over, in fact, the population is well over 5 million. And then you say that you don't care about those votes because the system does not work. If the system works, you will care about one vote. You care about one vote. So let us take the narrative to where votes will count. And if votes don't count, you can just wake up and then say, Kano State can produce 2 million votes. And then Ondo State can produce only 50,000 votes. It's not true.
Honorable Ashake, what I mean, now you say that where the system is working, unfortunately, the system is not working. So we
have to make the system to work. That is what I'm saying. It is the will of the people. When we take time to discuss, when we take time to discuss like this, then we have to awaken the consciousness of the people that the system must work, not to be analyzing the system that is not working. We have surrendered to a workable system. That is what I'm talking about. These people are just creating job for us. That each time they come with a crooked system, then they take our time and they were analyzing a system that is not working. The people have to be, the consciousness of the people have to awaken so that the system must work. Whatever it takes, the people must make the system to work.
All right, the people must make the system work.
Well, I share your optimism. I hope that others will. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's blind optimism. You see, there's something that is called a historical progression of mankind. We are making improvements. It's a gradual. I don't like the system. You know, there is something that is called the Stockdale paradox. Stockdale paradox is named after Jim Stockdale. He was the most high-ranking United States soldier that was captured in Saigon, you know, during the Vietnam War, and he was held as a prisoner of war for more than 7 years, but he was able to survive. And now, when he came back and even ran for vice presidency. When they asked him, how did he survive? He said a couple of his, you know, co-prisoners of war couldn't survive because they kept having the hope that, look, oh, tomorrow America was coming to rescue us. Next week, America was coming to rescue us. Next month, America was coming to rescue us. And started living on that hope. But that he realized, this is my present condition now. Tomorrow might be better. But this is what I'm facing now. So it is called the Stockdale paradox, named after Jim Stockdale. Now, my position is this. I don't like what is happening, as a matter of fact. But I know that we can't make some kind of supersonic move. It's a process. It's a sociological process. Given a combination of several other factors, ethnicity, economy, politics, or every other thing, we are going to make, you know, progress over time. But presently, this is what it is. Right. And until we understand what it is now, we cannot actually move forward as a people. That's my point of argument.
All right, then. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's move on to another story now. The big story, actually, on the cover page of The Guardian is sex, new capital, rules, stir anxiety. Stress test portfolio managers. All right. Now, checking out riders to that headline, operators may liquidate locked investments to meet new requirements. Operators wary of pressure on funding. Teller seeks more accommodating timeline. Stronger buffers vital to sustaining investor confidence. Stakeholders insist. All right, that's the big story. Well, let's check out some of those stories here. FG to inject 30 billion naira in 74 federal varsities as unions urge pact execution. NFIU, Nigeria's exit from FATF EU Black Book. A boost for financial system. I take that one again. NFIU, Nigeria's exit from FATF EU Black Book. A boost for financial system. World Bank, large-scale rural road investments key to Nigeria's food security goal. All right. Those are the headlines there. Now, on the NFIU headline, there are riders to that one. FG UAE Ports Group signed landmark MOU on maritime development. Nigeria recovering from economic hardship, says Ogun ex-governor. All right. Honorable Jonathan, which headline would you want to react to out of those I've read so far?
Hello?
I can hear you, loud and clear.
Did I even hear any headline there?
Oh, you did it? Okay. I understand the network is acting up. So let me give you the headlines again. NFIU, Nigeria's exit from FATF, EU Black Book, a boost for financial system. World Bank, large-scale rural road investment, key to Nigeria's food security goal. This is coming from the World Bank. And also, federal government to inject 30 billion naira in 74 federal varsities as unions urge pact execution. But I'd like for us to zero in on the World Bank story. Let's see if there are riders to that one, so it gives us a better premise to lay the argument. Oh, well, there is none. But would you have me read a little into it?
Sorry?
Are you good?
Yes.
Ahead.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm interested in that story. Large-scale rural road investment, key to Nigeria's food security. It's unfortunate that it's the World Bank that is telling us this, because if you look at,
did say sometime last week that the government of Nigeria should continue the policies it has churned out already.
Yes, because it favors them.
Because it favors them.
Because it favors them. So that's why I'm saying that talking about large-scale rural road infrastructure,
road infrastructure
is not something that the World Bank should be telling us at this age. We know it. We knew it back in the days, because if you go back to when we talk about when we make a compare note between the military and the civilian government, a lot of people realistically will believe that, look, the military has done better. And for people like me, democracy doesn't mean anything to me if it is devoid of development. As a matter of fact, and a lot more people think in that direction. You recall that Ibrahim Babangida had what we call then DIFRI, Directorate of Rural Infrastructure. What was headed by Ever Marshal Larry Konyan at that time. Now, what Larry Konyan, the mandate was create rural roads and make sure you link them, from farm settlements to the urban centers. That was the core mandate. And within the period that Larry Konyan was in charge of DIFRI, he did a lot, to create rural roads in all parts of the federation. Now, did we continue in that direction? When the military was pushed out, DIFRI died. And now when DIFRI died, we started seeing governors come to pave the city centers, they will do 1 kilometer road on city centers, and use the green, white, green paint on the road, and they will take pictures. One of them built what he called a tunnel that was less than 20 meters, and used so much amount of money to advertise it on CNN. City centers, the spotlight, they got the spotlight. They have by rural areas. Those roads that were opened by DIFRI started, because some of them were not tarred. The idea was that you open them up, you tar them over time so that it could connect the rural and the urban centers. We didn't travel in that direction. So those roads started going down. And the civilian government didn't do much, on that sector. So what we have now is a situation where you go to a farm settlement, they produce tubers of yam, they produce cassava, the resource and all of that. Now, the cost of bringing it to the city center is so enormous, and they can't bear that cost alone. They have to transfer it, to the consumers. And that is what makes inflation spike over time. So World Bank coming out at this time to tell us that we should invest on road and rural infrastructure is actually an indictment on the civilian government, because that is what we should have done on our own and not wait for the World Bank to tell us all of this. And we have a government that is taking glory for building super highways, one from Lagos to Calabar, that is going to consume about 15 trillion naira. There's another one from Badagry to Sokoto, that is going to take so much money. So meanwhile, we have from Benin to Asaba, that ordinarily shouldn't take you 1 hour, takes you about 4 hours now. From Asaba itself to the head bridge in Onitsha, that shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes, takes you about 2.5 hours, depending on the time of the day that you pass through that road. I used the road to the east, that was in November, and it was a hell for me. Which roads? Is it the Enugu to Onitsha? Is it Enugu to Port Harcourt? I'm not talking about rural roads, I'm talking about federal highways, that are not even connected, that are not working. Yet we are building super highways. And we are building Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. How about the East-West Road? How about the East-West Road? It's been decrepit for decades. And the only difference between the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway is that it has like 2 other states, Lagos and Ogun State. Apart from that, there was no need for the Coastal Highway. Why don't you just build why don't you go and refurbish the East-West Road that runs from Edo up onto Cross River State that tips into the ocean? It's as simple as that. So World Bank is not telling us what we shouldn't know. As a matter of fact, our government should feel ashamed that the World Bank is the one telling us this.
All right then. Honorable Jonathan, what's your reaction to that headline? All right, we seem to have lost connection to Honorable Jonathan Ashak here. We just might go to Dr. Bright Onyebukuka, who joins the conversation now. Dr. Bright, good morning to you. Welcome back to the conversation.
Good morning, Moses.
If you heard the headline, go right ahead. Let's have your take on it.
Okay, well, the analysis has been done. I think Mr. Jukuma spoke so much about it. It's a normal thing that they should do from the federal, state, and local government, and even there are rules that have been designed for these various categories of persons, most especially the local government, because in these communities, they are closest to these communities, and they should be able to do the needful of what they can do, and when it goes beyond them, they should even present it to the state, and then the state to the federal government. Like Mr. Chukwuman has said, for World Bank to be reminding us, because talking about basic amenities, that is the first, it's a fundamental basic amenity that these people should have access to, because actually if you go to these rural areas, you see most of these farmers actually doing what they are doing, putting in their best. Let's take the corn, for example. When you go to this rural area or even go to the farm, the cost of the corn in the farm and the cost of corn in the street, you should ask yourself, from the cost of the corn in the street, if the profit thereof is getting to the farmer will be breaking even. But that's not the case. But when you now ask the person who is selling the corn on the street, he or she will tell you the time it took them to move from that community down to the city. So when World Bank emphasizing the obvious is actually an indictment. It's a call on our government. Go back and look at these things. They use these rules. So they should go and do the needful. I also want to add that there's another super highway from Benin, that's from the Ramat Park at Atiku down to, I think, the summit in Asaba. So they're also working on the super highway. So if you want to add to the list, add that particular one to the list also.
All right then. Well, let's go on to other headlines here. I don't know if we still have connection to Honorable Jonathan Shake. But let's go to another headline and probably get his reaction to that headline. Well, Oyo Group decry Nigeria's 150,000 sickle cell beds yearly burden. Oyo Group decry Nigeria's 150,000 sickle cell beds yearly burden. I think, Dr. Bright, we might have your reaction to this one, because this falls within your purview, actually. It's health related. NAF kills over 40 insurgents, disrupt Borno attacks. And also, FG bans mining activities within 10-kilometer radius of bridges nationwide. Well, let's get your take on the Oyo group, the sickle cell bets, yearly burden, and then we'll read a little into this federal government banning mining activities within 10 kilometers before we get reactions to that one. Dr. Bright, please.
Yeah, for the sickle cell issue is a big challenge. I once wrote an article and it was titled "Prevent or Prepare for It," and it's a very big, challenging issue because it's something that is actually preventable if and only if couples, before they get married, they get to know their genotype. Many a times you have the AS coming together and having them having these children with the sickle cell trait. There is no permutation to say maybe your first child could be AA, the second could be AS, and the third. So people will say, okay, let's just have one child or have two. No, it doesn't go like that. Any of them can turn up. If you have four, all of them can turn up to be AA, all of them can turn up to be AS, all of them can turn up to be SS. But the gambling is just too much. Because in most cases, when these children are suffering from this crisis, the parents are overwhelmed. Sometimes they even blame them, and having them to have faced so much challenges among their peers. Yes, for those who have been giving birth to, let's see to how best we can actually support them with enlightenment and the needed information that will take them off crisis. But we must wake up to the responsibility to say that this thing is preventable. If you can actually stop this marriage of AS to AS, considering their genotype. I also am aware, like I had a discussion just yesterday right inside the church and talk about two couples who eventually found out that their son is having SS. And they said at the point of presentation, both of them presented the genotype that they were AA. So we also have falsification of record at the point of coming together. Some labs are not working the way they're supposed to work. I can use this medium to call on the government at various levels. They should have a special center wherein the result of genotype that will come out from there will be something that one can actually trust and believe in. And by so doing, at the point of counseling or whatever, AS shouldn't marry AS. Let's prevent.
How old is the son? The one you talked about now. How old is the son?
The boy should be about 10 years now. The boy should be about 10 years.
So it took 10 years for the SS traits to reveal itself.
They already discovered that the boy was SS when the boy was around 2 years plus. Okay. Eventually, that even broke their relationship.
Oh, okay.
So they've just been managing the boy. Now that's something that the boy is about 10 years old now. But it could have been prevented.
Of course. All right.
Yes, I'd like to talk about this because 150,000 naira, it's 150,000. Maybe some money will come my way this morning. I keep talking about naira,
150,000 sickle cell bets
in Oyo State alone.
I think it's around the nation.
Around the nation. But Oyo State is flagging it.
Yes, Oyo State is
flagging it. Even if it is around the nation, where it's Oyo group. Okay, yes. Now, it's important that there should be some kind of shared responsibility, between government, society, and the churches. The churches should play a role in this. Because
religious houses.
Religious houses, yes, religious houses. Thanks for that correction. Religious houses, including mosques and churches, and even traditionalists. Now, it's important that before you tie the knots, the nuptial knots, you should have this kind of test. And I like the fact that Dr. Brighton Noviokuku said about, the veracity of the test. How trustworthy are they? Some people go and influence, as a matter of fact. But I think that is the height of foolishness. That's the height of foolishness. Because of the trauma the child and even the parents have to go through over time. I understand that there's some kind of cure for it now, where you have to do some kind of transplant, the bone marrow transplant and all of that. But even in the United States of America, it is very, very expensive. It's a recent technology, it's quite expensive. Not a lot of people can afford it. Now, one can save the embarrassment, the trauma of just... My uncle used to tell me that a failed relationship is better than a failed marriage. Yes. So at that point that, well, you had trouble, unfortunately, this thing can't work for us. Over time, 6 months, 1 year, you overcome it and move on. Instead of having to bear a burden for years, I had a lecturer in the university. He was, sickle cell, he had sickle cell anemia. And he died at the age of 54. He managed to survive up until the age of 54. That was a lot. So, but that trauma was a lot for him and his family. So it is something that is avoidable. Where I worship, you can't wed without having to present a genotype test.
Oh, people lie sometimes.
But people lie. That is the problem. So why?
I have a friend whose wife deceived him. She was AS, and he searched. I mean, he married late because he searched all around for one who was AA, but all the people he met were AS, and he knew he was AS.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the person he decided to settle with lied to him, and then their first set of kids were the twins, and both of the babies are SS.
So apart from the falsification, I think another issue is the fact that a lot of labs have also
that's like the doctor said,
they are not professional enough. Some
the
people,
results that come out from,
some people do 3 different tests, some 4, and they keep seeing maybe AA, and then you get into marriage thinking you are an AA, and then imagine the shock when you give birth and find out, and so there is the lack of trust. But I think aside lack of trust will come in. I think another issue is that we are paying so much attention to the SS, the AS, and the AA. We also have other genotypes. We have the AC, we have the AC, we have the SC, and we also have the CC.
So, but those ones,
of course, they're not as common as, but they also have their, contraindications if they are not well.
Yes, in terms of childbearing and the rest
and all of that. So I think, just like you said, there should be a lot of sensitization, and I think that it's tantamount to shooting yourself in the foot if you falsify. Because you don't want to see an SS patient in crisis.
There's this
painful
mindset
to watch.
It's not my portion.
Very painful. Yes, it's my enemy.
It's not my portion.
It's my enemy that has it.
It's what leads a lot of people into doing these things. They falsify. No, it won't happen to me. It's not my portion. So the ones I will have will be.
And when it starts happening, it's from my village people.
It's the village people. All right, then. Well, let's talk about federal government banning mining activities within 10-kilometer radius of bridges nationwide. So the writer to that headline commissions CCTV monitoring center on Second Niger Bridge. Now, the Minister of Works, David Umahi, yesterday said that the federal government under President Bola Tinubu had banned all forms of mining activities within a 10-kilometer radius of bridges across the country. And then he went on, he warned the public to abide by this directive, adding that government will deploy patrol boats to enforce the ban around bridge corridors and will also provide 2 vehicles to the police for highway monitoring. All right, so that's what the minister is saying. So according to him, it is only the audacity of Tinubu, his determination and love for the Southeast people that have brought every abnormal situation to a halt in the zone. The minister announced that in the next 2 weeks, the first 15 kilometers and the carriageway will be completed. That's talking about the certain projects, all right, that they're also embarking upon. So CCTV cameras will cover a stretch of about 11.9 kilometers from the toll station to the Oka interchange, and is equipped with modern 4K surveillance cameras, solar-powered lighting, and real-time monitoring facilities. All right, that's okay. You want to go first?
Yes.
Second Niger Bridge. Yeah, that's that one on the second.
Yes.
Niger
Yes.
Bridge.
I like the fact that we are trying to prevent mining. close to bridges, because over time the integrity of the bridge will start, will be affected by mining activities. And when you hear about mine collapse and all of that, it sounds strange to us because we used to hear them in South Africa, when mines collapse on top of people. But it started happening also recently in parts of the north, where people have been buried because of, I don't know, careless activity,
topography and
topography and all of that, and the fact that people even have whatever is quite unfortunate. But then I think we might be doing well in mining sector, because on the front page of this day we have been told that African ministers of minerals re-elect Dele Alake as AMSG chair. So that means that we are doing well in the mining sector. So how much have we raked in from mining? That is the question. And it's urging Africa to unite, catalyze economic growth through solid minerals. Solid minerals is an issue for Africa. Moses and I were talking about it the other. I think it was on air, and we asked the question, resource cost. How come we have so much oil deposits? How come we have so much gas? How come we have so much bitumen? How come we have so much ore and all of this? Yet we are a rich country of poor people. That is what we have become. So mining is, our president went to France a few months after he was sworn into office. He went to France, and one of the memorandum of understanding he signed was that the French people were going to come to help us in our solid mineral sector. I've not seen much of that. I don't know if anybody has. The French people, are they here? Have they made money for us? The monies, have they been remitted? Because we are still borrowing a lot of money, from outside. Even this year budget, there is a deficit that will be financed through borrowing. Yet we are,
Remember the president was presented with a gold bar at some point.
Okay.
He did present the president with a gold bar, which of course was gotten from what was mined, formed into a bar, and presented that this is, this basically is what we have done so far. So I think, yes, whatever is going on in the mining sector is yielding fruits.
It's yielding fruit because he presented the president the gold bar or what? Are we making money out of it?
Well, that's
the question. Because if we are making money and our agencies are surpassing,
we're making money out of it.
No. Let's break it down.
They're just not being told how much we are making from it.
Even if we are not being told, at least we should reflect in our lives. What I mean by reflecting our lives is that, look, we are told that our agencies are surpassing targets. We are even told that that we are making money through solid mineral now. So how come we are still borrowing so much money? These monies that we make, where do they go to?
The oil that is being, mined from the soil of Nigeria, how much impact do you have? How much impact is it making in your life?
The impact it's making in my life is that when they go to FAC, they share money and my state gets money.
Your state gets money. So what your state uses that money for, how well does that impact you?
It impacts on me because I just told you that Alex Oti is building the federal road that passes through my community. Okay. It's been decrepit for close to 40 years now. Wow. But he's building it. He built my senator built the road that passes in front of my house, in front of my
lots of other people will have questions to ask the governors in their states.
Yes.
What they use the FAC allocation
so
for.
That they should hold their governors to account. The president says, and the governors admit, look, we are sharing so much money from oil proceeds. And the governors are saying, look, National State governors say, look, we are getting, and Peter Mbah seems to be doing very well from FAC money. So if that is oil money, we should be told our lives will get better if we are making headways in the solid mineral sector in parts of the country, in the north.
All right, Honorable Jonathan Ashake, I hope we still have you as part of this conversation. If you can hear me, please, let's have your contribution to this headline. You might need to unmute your microphone so we can get your audio feed. Honorable, we're still struggling to get your feed, your audio feed. Well, unfortunately, I would love to take your contribution to this, but unfortunately, we can't get audio from your end. So let's move this conversation let's pass the mic now over to Dr. Bright Onyebukuka. Dr. Bright, you have the microphone.
First, talking about the mining activities, 12-kilometer radius. So the question first and foremost is, how well regulated are these mining activities? How well regulated are they? And in terms of people working on those bridges, do they also consider if they are going to pass through a mining site? All these things will actually help in talking about that mandate or whatever authority that has been given that mining activity should be stopped in around 12 kilometers. But we know that a lot of illegal minings are actually going on in Nigeria. So we need to look at the regulation of those mining. Talking about the money that are coming from it, well, we still know that it has been alleged that a lot of it are still going into private pockets. But where we need to actually do a proper regulation, there should be accountability and transparency in that mining sector. Then its dividend will come to Nigeria in all ramifications.
All right then. Honorable Jonathan, can we get your contribution now? All right then. Unfortunately, we can't get your contribution. Well, let's go to another story now. Pengasin. Dr. Bryce, I'd like to start with you on this one. The story of Pengasin. Okay, we seem to be running out of time. But let's just take your thoughts up. Pengasin pushes for minimum wage replacement with sectoral CBAs. That's basically collective bargaining agreements. Yeah, and say that will better reflect the reigning economic realities. So that's as the conversation around minimum wage will be coming up soon. Pengasin is pushing for the replacement of minimum wage with collective bargaining agreements. All right, that's one headline. And then 2027, North seeks consensus on security governance issues. And those are the headlines there. Dr. Bright.
Add that I think I'll go with the second. But first, for that minimum wage, Pengasin, they have different groups working with them. Will the different groups be able to afford the minimum wage they are pushing forward? Where that will come when they are having that discussion. But for the North, talking about a consensus for security, as the case may be, I think it's a welcome development, considering that most issues that have to do with insecurity, the finger that are being pointed for insecurity, they are all being pointed towards the North. So if the North should take up the discussion and initiative to say, we want a consensus or want something good about insecurity, that would be a very good and welcome development in terms of that. And I want to also quickly ask, since we're already running out of time, on the issue of sickle cell, what religious body and every other counseling body can do, they should take the sample from the intending couples, send them to a reliable lab, instead of waiting for them to bring a result that they are going to use. Take their sample and send the sample to the lab. The results you get, then you can use that to counsel them. If you ask them to keep bringing results for you, you keep seeing falsification of results. Maybe they go to Quack Lab or so many other things. I think that we just use that to round up since we are saying we don't want to have time.
All right, then. Thank you very much. This would be a good place to anchor the conversation today. Thank you very much, Dr. Bright Onyeoba-Kuka, public affairs commentator. Unfortunately, we're unable to get contributions from Honorable Jonathan Ashake, but we'd like you to join us again some of the time when we call upon you. We do hope that you will oblige us. Well, thank you very much for being part of the conversation still. And also, must say, Chukwumakoro, thank you very much. But he makes a comeback later tonight at 6 p.m. on Political Lens.
Yes, and I'll be joined by Barrister Darlington Agomo. We'll take a tour of Nigeria and bring you current political issues.
All right, there you have it. That's it on the show today. Newspaper review. Coming up next will be sports. I am Moses Humphrey. Wishing you a beautiful day. Bye for now.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, The truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing.
And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Welcome to the locker room, the home of football talk that matters. I am Jerry Arpillon. Join us every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, as we share the hot takes and hot debates in the exciting world of football. And joining me are the usual suspects, Atiku and Mayowa, as we break down all the hot takes and everything that's happening in the football. Don't just watch football, live it with us. Catch us on the locker room and Voice of the People Television at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And like I always say, if not 20 minutes off, please discuss.
Voice of the People. You can hear me now. My name is Patrick Doyle, and I wish that you continue to echo the voices of the people. Big up VOP TV.
My name is Ibi-Fa Dokubo. Please keep watching VOP TV.
Hi, my name is Kwaso.